tandem. And when they started pushing barges, they just kept the term towboat.
This is Chuck Parrish. Chuck spent 30 odd years as the historian for the port. And if there's anybody that knows any more about, I don't know who it is,
You.
that knows any more about this stretch of river.
You.
Well, I wouldn't want to go head to head. One of the very fortunate things is that Chuck and I seem to be on about half a dozen committees together at any given time. And one of the really cool things we're doing now with Hanover College, next year is the 200th anniversary of the first steamboat on the Ohio River, in New Orleans. And this location is especially important for it. In 1811, October of 1811, in the middle of the night, the people were stunned by hearing this sound, and they thought a comet had fallen into the river. And people ran down, and there was a steamboat coming in, the first one. Nobody even had heard they were doing steamboat. A man named Nicholas Roosevelt, he was a granduncle of Teddy Roosevelt, and this was a Fulton, Robert Fulton's, one of his boats, came down from Pittsburgh and was going to go all the way to New Orleans, and did so, got to Louisville in the middle of the night, and people were stunned. Louisville at the time was the 5th largest community in Kentucky. There were places you probably never heard of. There were bigger towns than Louisville. Washington was bigger. There was really nothing much here. It was a trading post, nothing much more than a trading post, and a very, very primitive port. Because in those days, essentially all the traffic went down the river. In 1806, there was something like 1,100 flatboats went down the river from Louisville across the falls, and only 6 or 7 boats came back up the river. So it was very profitable. If you could bring a cargo from New Orleans, you made a fortune. But it was 4 months of work. Well, the steamboats changed everything. When the boat arrived, people were so excited, and Captain Roosevelt, a couple days later, invited people, the city fathers, to come and have a banquet on board. They went down into the lower part. They were starting to serve their food, and they felt the boat moving. And anybody in Louisville's reaction was, "Oh my God, we're going to be swept over the falls. We're going to die." And instead, the boat was steaming up the river. That changed it. That changed Louisville so dramatically that within really a year or two, we were the largest city and became the first city in Kentucky because of the steamboat. Wonderful historian George Yater said that the river made Louisville a town, the steamboat made Louisville a city. And nothing more true is that. The harbor really does reflect our maritime heritage, and as you've been down here, you'll see one of the interesting things about the harbor. You see these posts. The docks are made to rise with the rising water, and will go all the way up to the top of those posts if the water rises high enough. If you anchor a dock, it just gets destroyed. So if it got high enough, they could float off down the river, but that would be spectacular. But that's all designed in, and you'll see it. The nights they're having concerts, the little harbor will be full. But you always have to be aware when you're doing boating of the navigational channel. The red marker, the red buoy, and the green buoy is the navigational channel that is guaranteed to be 9 feet deep. In the 1920s, a massive program to channelization to have a navigable passage year-round was finally put in place by the Corps of Engineers. It was unbelievably expensive, technically very, very difficult, series of locks and dams. And so this is the area where the commercial boats, that means you can't play in this area. So the boats come in very quickly, but the big commercial tows, they have priority up the river. So that's some of the things. Louisville was a great boat building town. Hundreds and hundreds of great steamboats were built in Louisville, and especially in the 1830s to the 1860s. Louisville boats were known for their dependability. It gave rise to a whole lot of new industries. We still have one right across the river. Jeff's boat was Howard Steamboat. And one of the things they often did in the early days was they would lay 4 or 5 hulls, wooden hulls, over at Howard Steamboat. And then when the river was high enough, they would float those hulls down to New Albany. And in New Albany, they've installed the boilers and the engines and the superstructures. And it was just a raw, naked wooden boat. They would pull that over to Portland. And in Portland, my neighborhood, is where they decorated the boats. They painted them, glazed them, upholstered them. There were lots of fine craftsmen in the Portland neighborhood. And those were called Louisville boats, although New Albany preferred to call them Louisville.
Dan sent me to say, don't worry about it. No. Don't worry about it. I'll keep that one. I'll be right back.
Where the dreams began. Fade to black.